What's our topic?
Should students have to work out?
Action, go.
Alright, we all know that high school / college is a struggle, especially if you're trying to obtain the best education possible. This is very relatable because we've all been there and have struggled with ensuring that you finish your homework, you're getting good grades, and you're balancing a social life. And for some, you're always training and traveling as an athlete. The struggle becomes intensified when you include extracurriculars such as sports, student gov, club activities, and other extracurriculars. And now you're trying to throw work into the mix, and that's a bit much. Part-time hours for students run 19 hours a week, which is a huge workload to balance with studies, especially since the average student studies 17 hours a week. So, on average, a student devotes 10 to 12 hours a day trying to get good grades, trying to keep up with their extracurriculars and sports and whatnot, not including work hours. And for those under 18, they can work a max of 3 hours a day, which would bring everybody else up to 13 to 15 hours a day, including work, school, and extracurriculars, which does not allow for a healthy sleep schedule or to have a balanced lifestyle, which is unsustainable. And therefore, we should make it easier for students to attend school without the pressures of needing a job, because it takes away from education and happiness and just overall well-being.
Great.
Oh, hey. When you're a full-time student going to college or university, your hands get full of assignments, studying for important exams, and you don't have time for working when you have things that are as much as important as that. And it is easy to fall behind once you start getting all these assignments, and then you don't really have time to do them because of work and such. And Jesus, take it away.
You guys got like 7 seconds.
Oh. Well,
Yeah, that would be.
that is all.
Opening statement is done. Great. Over to the other side.
Okay, and go.
Students from the age 15 and up should have an after-school job, in my opinion. Having a job teaches you life lessons such as punctuality, how to be a team player, work ethic, and most importantly, responsibility. You don't need to be a full-time student. Like, there's nothing wrong with working 1 to 2 days a week, like your weekends or something like that. If you're like, we're all in college now, and it's like, I don't know, everybody here seems to have a job, so I don't know. I feel like it's a doable thing to like get your assignments done and whatnot. So.
Yeah, and working after school allows you to be exposed to being able to work in a work environment. It gives you valuable experience and tangible skills that you won't be able to get just through learning through school. Also, if you also come from like a family with low income, you're able to have a chance to raise funds while going to school without depending on your parents or guardians or whoever is taking care of you. I feel like you should also, because you have the right to work, so why not take advantage of it? And like Chase said, you don't have to work full time. You have time during, depending on how you schedule your work in school, you have time to be able to prioritize what you need to do so you'll be able to save money in the process.
And it's not like your employer or your teachers are going to be like, oh, well, I understand that you have a part-time job, you're in track or basketball or whatever. It's like they're not going to say, well, you have to have this done whether or not you have to work or go to practice. Usually, from my experience, they're usually like, oh, okay, well, I'll give you an extra day, but like that's about all I can give you. Or your employer, you tell them, hey, can you get somebody to cover my shift?
Time's up.
Thank you. Back to the 4 statements when you guys are ready. Good.
Job reducers, after-school jobs reduces the productivity in studying. For example, when a student works, it always requires some kind of physical or mental effort. So a lot of energy is lost at a job. Consequently, children come home tired and don't have any desire and energy to do homework or prepare for exams, which reflect on their grades and school life.
Another reason why you shouldn't have jobs is 55% of students participate in some sort of sport in high school across all levels. And even though that number is halved at the collegiate level, that's still at least 3 hours a day committed to being an athlete. So that's so hard to come from school to sports, which drains you. It's so draining. And then to go to work at the same time, it's too much. And that doesn't even include travel times and competitions, which also takes up a large. Like personally for myself, I'm traveling every weekend to compete. So I no longer have open weekends to work. I'm at the gym after school from 4 to 8. So there's no time to work.
In addition to having less time spent on homework, and enjoyed students also have less personal time. They will have less time to spend with friends and less time for leisure. Balancing all of these responsibilities at once can cause a lot of unnecessary stress. Too many tasks can affect the amount of energy and effort put into it.
Some experts say that it's beneficial for students to have a job and it raises their GPA and discipline. But if we look at it from another point, people spend 1/3 of their lives working, and that's not taking into consideration part-time jobs in childhood. But we gotta remember that, especially high school students, they're not working machines, they're kids. And they can also go into a part-time job into a negative environment, which gives them a image negative of what work is, and it puts the idea of a job being more of a challenge just to survive than something you can enjoy and have pleasure in doing for 1/3 of your life.
Our 4 points are: you learn to understand the value of a dollar. When you have a job, you get paid for your work, and you begin to understand how to save for things you want in your life. So you don't have to run to your mom or dad and be like, "Hey, I need $10 so I can go to the movies with my friends." Well, if you had worked your Friday night, you get paid, you can go to the movies with your friends Saturday night. There's nothing wrong with that. And then another one is time management. You learn how to prioritize what's important. School obviously comes first, then work, and then when you're done the important stuff, you have time for your social life.
You also gain experience in the workforce. You learn new skills depending on what job you go into, especially if you go into a field where you're trying to get into after you graduate. It helps you be able to get your feet wet, so to say, and then have that experience working with a team that you can't really get from just learning from school. And then families that have low income, you're able to have money to be able to fund for your schooling and fund for like your rent or like yourself, basically getting, if you want to get clothing and not have it depending on your parents or whoever you live with, and it helps you gain responsibility.
Yeah, and like you said, like if your family has a lower income and you're working for yourself, I mean, you can obviously save for your own car or an Xbox or your video games, whatever you're looking for, right? So, and I mean, you don't have to go out and find a job that's like taking all your time. Like, I mean, in high school, I washed dishes twice a week for 4 or 5 hours, and then that's what paid for my fuel and my insurance on my car. I still managed to graduate, so.
Are you guys good? 1 minute break. Do you want me to pause it?
Yes, yeah.
I got stats upon stats for these.
Another thing that employment can do is lower grades through the reduction of sleeping time. You might say you don't work every day, but the days you do work, you lose sleeping time, which can cause a butterfly effect that causes you to sleep in late and then sleep in like the next day even later and lose more sleep, miss school work, get late to class, and that can lower your grades.
Yeah, but like, I don't know, like I said, your teachers are flexible. They know like you need your sleep and stuff. So I mean, you can always go out of your way and mention to them and say, hey, or go to your employer even and say, I have a huge test coming up. Like, can you schedule somebody else for this weekend? Like, I can't do it.
First of all, if you're gonna ask like your employer for this weekend, most of the time places have to have the 2 weeks in advance.
But that's
And some-
only if you're a
and
full-time
sometimes-
employer, though.
No,
Even
no, it
part
isn't.
time, like
Even
you have to
part-time.
actually go 2 weeks in
Yeah.
advance, and even if you're scheduled to work, they're not always gonna go out of their way. I mean, it's your responsibility when you get
Mhm.
scheduled on that shift. You show up or you don't.
But it's also your responsibility to find somebody to cover that shift.
Yeah,
for
but
you.
what if you can't find someone to?
If
do
you
it?
can't, then I mean,
Then it's
you're
just
gonna have
extra
to tell, then go to your
stress.
teacher. Go to your
What if
teacher.
your teacher won't understand
I
it?
mean, I
It
feel
also
like
depends on the
What did
teacher
you
and the
do?
But then,
employer.
well, another thing too is like, even if you notice how we are in school right now, we have due dates for certain things. Some things, some of our assignments are like due in like a week advance, so you're supposed to prioritize what you could do beforehand so that you don't get into that situation. This helps with time management.
Yeah, it's
Basic-
sort of like-
sometimes you can't prioritize though. I mean, for some of us, we already, like for me, for instance, I already have a set schedule. I come to school, then I go to the gym, I have practice. Then I have designated time for working on homework and whatnot. But like, what time do I have for work? I literally have zero time for that, and it's not just because I don't manage my time. I literally have someone training me, helping me with the schedule. Sometimes it's just almost impossible to work around these schedules, you know?
Because sometimes then like when it comes to like your situation when you're also in sports as well, you kind of have to sacrifice one for the other because now you're taking on 3 responsibilities: school, work, and then working on the team. I mean, like doing a sports team.
But my
But-
situation isn't unique when there are 6 out of 10 students who participate in extracurriculars. So
You got
even
the
though,
stat, like where you got the stat from?
yeah, it was actually a study across the NYCU, so it was like a New York University study, and they did it across all of their collegiate students. All of them participate in student government or sports or any other forms of extracurriculars. So
And did it say like how, like what was the stat of them being successful working, also going to school and then being on the team?
just over half, although in the case of sports, they had a really low graduation rate. Only 17% went on to go into their profession for what they studied and got their diploma in. So these would show like where do we find the balance?
I kind of find that interesting because I was playing soccer full time and I was working. I was in Calgary every weekend playing soccer. I was practicing 4 times a week, and then Monday, Tuesdays I was working. And I still was doing my homework on top of that. I'd do my homework at lunch if I knew I was going to be practicing. I would do my homework on the road if I was going to Calgary. I would do, yeah, maybe sometimes I'd have to sacrifice a couple hours of sleep to finish an assignment, but that's where your priorities come into place, right?
Were you paying rent at the time?
No, I was
You're
in high
doing all
school.
this?
Though. I was in high school though.
But I
See,
do have a quote from a student who went to Georgetown University. Her name is Yadra Garula. She was a full-time student at in the Bachelor's of Sociology. It was published in the Georgetown University book called Learning While Earning the New Normal. She said, "It feels good to know that I can pay for my phone, I pay for my gas, pay for my clothes, I can pay for anything I need. This, I guess, in my heart, this to me is my story. I know what my next step is as long as I could get there and keep going is kind of my ambition." Kind of shows you that it's possible to even to be in a program full time, and then this is even a bachelor's. This is a bachelor's program, and she's able to be successful while working. So basically, what I'm trying to say, it is possible, depending on how you schedule your time and what time management you have, you'll be able to do it.
Yikes. Yeah, but I guess she's just one of those really determined people, and there are some people who are already so stressed. I mean, 8 out of 10 college students get so stressed that it leads to depression and academic downfall because they're just so stressed and they're so anxious about everything, right?
Done.
Okay, sounds like that's the end of the debate.
So you said that students fall into this depression and they get stressed and all that stuff, but in my opinion, well, not my opinion, an article from April 13th, 2013 from www.education.com says that students with a job during school makes them stressed, which, believe it or not, is actually a good thing. Every new phase in your life entails stress, and honestly, in the teen years, that's basically the best time to learn because life doesn't get any easier from there. So
And
you
work-
might as well learn now.
Working and learning simultaneously has its benefits, especially when you're a student and it's related to the study that you're trying to get into after work. When work experience also becomes an asset when you're working, the learnings can carry with them into their full market, accelerating their career into full time, and this is according to the Georgetown University Learning While Earning the New Normal textbook.
Also, having a job helps make connections with other adults outside your family. And sometimes, just to close out, it's not about what you know, it's about who you know. So that might set you up later on in life.
You good?
Yep.
You're up.
We see that while working for students has its benefits, it can also have negatives. And especially for high schoolers, like he said, it can be a good time to experience stress so they can get more in shape to what is to come. But for college students, it's more of a way for income more than it is just for you to shape yourself, since you're already starting into the world. And in some cases, also students have to do internships, and that just adds time into their day, which can overtake or overlap with work or schoolwork.
Work becomes too much of a person's life. You lose sight of what's most important. Too much attention can be taken away from your friends, your family, and the people that are most important. And all your attention goes to work, right? Like for me, that's what I feel like. I feel like I have to work because like I have to get my groceries, I have to pay rent, and go to school. And then I have to worry about other stuff that's like family situations that are going on right now. It is a lot of stress, and I feel like majority of the stress is coming from work. If I didn't need to work right now, I wouldn't be working, because it is actually a lot harder than you guys are making it seem now.
Yeah, plus we're young now and we're in school. I just feel like we should focus on being in school and enjoying ourselves and being young rather than working when we have our entire lives to work. So, no school, no work after school.
Great debate, guys. Thank you.